Three, two, one. I'm Buzz Call. I'm here for AREC, the Appalachian Regional Energy Efficient Renewable Energy
Consumer
Cooperative. I'm here to talk about energy efficiency and what can you do, about what can we do, because as you do these things, you will save energy. Now some of them are smaller amounts, but if it's that easy for you to do, why not do it? A real quick example is the light bulb. For the cost that they are, it's a no-brainer. There are three things that you want to be concerned about in your home. The mechanical systems. Your furnace, your heat pump, your hot water tank, washer and dryer. The next is the shell or the envelope of the house, the structure itself, the windows, the doors, the insulation in the attic. And the last thing is what I'm really here to talk about is you and your family. Make it a family commitment and you will have better luck from that. Because if you try and cut back the length of the showers and your teenage daughter is not paying any attention to you, you're not going to get a whole lot of BTU savings from that standpoint. You can change the air filter. There are new ones out there that say they're a lifetime. I'd have to have somebody I trust buy one with their money and use it for a long time before I believe it's lifetime. But I have vacuumed off the cheap ones because I get the 4-inch ones and I use those for 3 years. I just keep vacuuming them off. But that's something you can do. Again, you're not going to put in a new furnace yourself, but you can do something with the furnace to make it last longer. Number one thing you can do with your furnace or heat pump is set the thermostat back. For every 1 degree you set it back, and I have seen different numbers for this, anywhere from 2 to 5% savings on your bill. That's substantial to do something like that. My brother and his wife, she is always cold, so she's always sneaking over there and turning it up, and he's getting back and turning it back. And so that's the savings. When he can show her the bill for 1 degree and save 3%, that's the money that they can spend on something else, whether it's new clothes or a steak or something. That's money you can put in your pocket. And if it really is 2 to 5%, you start getting up to 5% for each degree, setting it back 2 degrees. Do you have a heat pump? It's a little different. Heat pumps, you don't want to set it too far back because when you set it back up to warm the house up, the backup heat or the electric resistance, which is a fancy way to say the electric heater, kicks in. And when the electric heater kicks in, whether it's your furnace or the backup thing, if you go look at your monitor, that little puppy's just out there spinning like this, and that tells you how old I am because the dials have mostly gone away, I think. I know I have a digital gauge at home now. The one thing you need to remember that if you set it back to say 64 degrees and the house gets to 64 degrees, everything in the house is 64 degrees. The sofa, the rug, the walls, the kitchen cabinets. So you've got to reheat all of that. How long are you going to be gone?
Okay.
Who's coming in when? Do you have a baby in the house? Do you have an elderly person that's ill in the house? Do you need to be there the whole time? You'd have to take these things into consideration. DHW, as we say in the business, domestic hot water or your water tank. 120 degrees Fahrenheit is fine. You may remember the Legionnaire's disease in Pennsylvania probably 20 years or so ago. They were saving energy at the hotel and allowed bugs to grow in the water system, and that's what happened. 120 is the standard, but it's easy to set. You set it, you take your magic marker, and you set where it is on the dial now. Then you set it back, and if it's too much, you've got an idea where to go back to. You want to wrap your hot water tank if it's old. The newer tanks you'll void the warranty on. There's the others, what is it, FVIR, flame retardant or something like that, that have little holes in it. They don't want you to wrap the tank, so you have to read the material if you get a good tank. But you can void the warranty on those because most of them come with about an R6 of foam insulation inside of it. That's pretty good. Electrics don't lose as much as gas because the gas has a standby pilot and it's always burning. There is a safety device on hot water tanks called a TP, temperature pressure release valve. If it's dripping, you may not know what it is, but you know that it's on the side of the tank. If you go home and take a look, you go, that's what Buzz was talking about. If it's dripping, have a plumber come and change it for you. If you know what you're doing, you can do it. It's safe. It's easy enough to do. Come on in. We got donuts and coffee and free beer. All right, maybe not the free beer or the donuts. So if it's dripping, it is there for safety. That thing is supposed to open itself up if the temperature and the pressure hits a point that it's too great, that thing's supposed to open up and dump the water. It may be a heck of a mess in the room you have it in, but it's better than blowing up the house. The Army has done videos of these a long time ago, and these things take off like rockets. I mean, it will blow your house up depending on how big it is. So, electric space heaters, kerosene heaters and things like that, read the manual. Many of the people sitting in this room may not read the manual. I'm one of those people that does read the manual. And if you read the manual, you're going to find out, especially for the kerosene stuff, that it tells you to crack the window 2 inches so for ventilation. Well, what do you have in the secondary heat for? Because you're cold. And you're going to have secondary ventilation, let the cold air in? You have CO problems if you don't do that. CO, the silent killer. Every year, I'm sorry to say, but when the heating season shows up, last night somebody probably turned their furnace on for the first time. Well, unfortunately, we will see in the paper that some people have died from CO poisoning. The bird built a nest and then flew. Don't know that. Something fell down. The kids were playing in the basement because it rained for 4 days in a row, and they threw a ball or something up against the flue. It's crimped it down. Something has happened. And so that'll block that, and it doesn't allow it to draft properly, and you have that. Plus, it just needs a tune-up. Are there any questions on that part?
Like the serviceman can check, like for soot buildup, maybe just to check the combustion in the furnace to see if it's correct.
Yeah, you can get a tune-up every year. I have that. You can buy a program from one of the reputable dealers in the area, and you can get it, that they'll do it in the spring and in the fall. I just get it in the fall because I don't use very much air conditioning. I've got a heat pump system. Yeah, that's a good thing. And then the air filter as well is a big thing. If it works harder to suck air through, it's not going to be as efficient. Yes, sir?
Well, my gas water heater is about 5.5 years old. Do I need to put a blanket on it?
I would think it would be, but I would look at, if you still have the manual, and find out what the warranty is on it. There's parts down there you do not want to cover up. It becomes a safety issue. You don't cover the top of it. It's got the flue and the gases, but the sides can benefit from it. And I see anything from R6 to R11 for those wraps. What does your pocketbook allow you to do?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then we're going to talk about the shell of the house, or the envelope of the house. This is the biggie, is insulation. Does your family's budget allow the insulation? Because if you don't have enough in the attic, and that's why it starts, can anybody tell me why we want to start with the attic for insulation?
Warm air rises.
Warm air rises. We just got our physics lesson for today. You didn't know you knew physics, did you? Warm air rises, it forces its way up through there. Nature likes a balance. Heat chases cold, high pressure chases low pressure. That's why we get storms. Those big systems, you see them on the map, and a low one's here and a high one's here. They come together, and when they come together, we get the kaboomers. That's a technical term, by the way, kaboomers. Nature likes a balance. Moisture, high moisture wants to find low moisture. In the attic, the best stuff in the attic is the blown insulation, because it's our experience that batt insulation doesn't get installed properly. If it gets installed properly, that's fine. And it's better than not doing anything. I would rather do that and maybe not do it as well as I can, since I don't know any better, than to not do anything, because it will help you. But even little gaps like that where it's supposed to go up to the joists, even little gaps like that can let up about 25% for that area. 25% of it escape up. There's even more because of the air pressure. It looks for that easy route. Takes that easy route. There is blown insulation that you can do that. Not to badmouth Lowe's, but the units, the machines they have don't have the capability of what's called a dense pack. You get it in between the wall cavities, and you pack that in there where you can't get the tube in any further. You've tightened that house up tremendously. There is wet pack insulation. If you have access to your cavities, you can just spray that on, it fills it up, and then they just take a big old planer, almost like you do with concrete, and just plane that right down. You got a smooth surface, you put your drywall in it, everything's good. But that's typically if you're going to add an addition on or building a new house. We deal a lot with homes that are already there, what's called a retrofit. So the insulation is the real big thing. Insulate the floor joists if you can get to them. Insulate the perimeter on there where the band joist is. The band joists are those little blocks of wood that are about like this. There. You want to air seal those first. You can put 5 feet of insulation in the attic, and if you haven't sealed from the living space up into the attic, you wasted your money. Can anybody think of any bypasses, what we call sneaky leaks, from the house up into the attic?
where vent pipes go up through.
Vent pipes, whether it's from the furnace or from the hot water tank. Good. Anybody else got anything? Think of?
Switch plates?
Switch plates do something, and people go, well, that's not much. You're right, it's not much, but we're talking about what you can do. With a screwdriver and the switch plate cover, you can take out the switch plate, put the cover on, and put the switch plate back in about 38.5 seconds.
A staircase goes up into the attic.
Yeah, those things are notorious for that, and that is difficult to do unless you really know what you're doing. I would not mess with that. I would get a professional in for doing something along those lines. Can lights that are recessed up into the ceiling, that whole area around there is just a leak waiting to happen. It is happening. Oh, well, it's good. It's leaking the hot air out of the house in the summertime. But in Ohio, we pay dearly for our heat in the wintertime. We are probably about a 75% heating state and a 25% cooling state. There are new lights that you can blow insulation up to. They're called IC, insulation contact rated lights. Again, does your family's budget allow you to do that? If not, you can buy the right type of caulk and go to Ace Hardware or somebody, Lowe's, whoever, and find out and say, this is what I want to do. I want you to show me that it says somewhere on this tube that it's rated for electrical contact work. If not, you can build little boxes around it and air seal those things up. But again, that's a lot of work. But if you've got a big attic and you've got a lot of leaks, it's worth it to you. You know you're going to be in that house for a while? Fix the leaks. Under the kitchen sink, the plumbing pipes come up. And usually when the pipe is about that big, the hole is about that big. Why? Because the plumbers are just taking it easier on themselves when they're installing this stuff. Window sills. Insulation not so much, but caulk bypasses around the windows. Windows leak a lot. Windows will not save you 50% of your energy like they say on the commercials unless the rest of the house is buttoned up and the windows leak like sieves. But they're worth their money. It's called a savings to investment ratio. What are you going to save or how much it's going to cost? And if it comes up 1 or greater, then they say to do it. Again, I'll get back to what's your budget say. Windows are expensive. But if you can figure it out to a budget and get it done and maybe get a rebate on them. Under doors, everybody's seen the little door doggy and all that kind of stuff. Okay, it's $8 or $10, and if you get the right one, everybody thinks it's cute. Do you need to buy one of those? You got an old towel? Towel will do the job. Turn the lights out, and if it's light outside, shut the lights off inside the house. Can you see around the door? If you can, you've got leaks. Maybe it's not worth it enough to you to go after them. Who knows? Only you can decide at the house, but it's one of those things that's relatively easy because they have weather stripping. It's usually some sort of foam rubber with sticky tape on the back, and you pull the sticky tape up and put it in place, and then it's going to become harder for you to close that door because it's going to seal the air out. When it's in the middle of winter, you'll be glad when you did that. Lastly, we've talked about mechanical systems and the house itself. All of these things are combined. You can put in a new furnace, but if you don't put in an air filter on every regular basis, at least once a year, but most people say in the heating season once a month. If you're not doing that, your new furnace is not going to perform like they say it's going to, and maybe you will save money, but not as much as you could. The last thing is involve the family. But the daughter comes home from school, and the first thing she does is turn that thermostat up, thinking, Dad's not going to be home for an hour. I can turn it up, warm the house up, and set it back before he comes in. Showers. Shortened showers. How long does the average shower last? This is a rhetorical question. How big is the tank? If you've got teenage kids, if it's a 40-gallon tank, they're going to take a 40-gallon shower. I know parents that go in there and just shut the water off, the hot water off, and so it gets cold, and when the cold water hits their daughter in the shower, she's out. That shower is over. Washing machine. Can anybody think of anything you can do in your washing machine that would help save some serious energy?
Cold water.
Cold water will clean almost everything. Sir, if you work on your car and you get greasy and dirty, cold water's not going to clean those clothes. You need to wash them in hot. Okay. Everything else should be in cold water. Clothes washing and dryer is about 10% of your energy use, and it's something easy that you can do. Instead of having it set to hot water, warm or cold. Cold when you can do this. But the next big thing is double spinning the washing machine. Well, wait a second. Well, as you asked me to save energy, and you're telling me to use more. I want you to use more energy in the washing machine to save a lot of energy in the dryer. The dryer is just an electric space heater. It's got to tumble the tub, and then it's got to provide the heat to do in there. So a double spin, you will save enough energy to make it worthwhile double spinning. The dryer time will be cut. The drying time went from 60 minutes to 40 minutes for the basic load. That's a lot. Hang your laundry when you can. It's free. When you got stuff in there that you don't mind hanging out, a couple of towels, even 2 towels out. So when I do my laundry, I'm a bachelor, everything gets thrown into one place. And so if I've got a pair of jeans and a towel in there, those don't go in the dryer. They go out on my deck and hang dry out there, and then the rest of it, and so I'm saving energy there. And then when they're just about dry out there, I throw them in the dryer with no air and let them fluff up a little bit. Full loads, always do a full load. If you have some delicate items, some sweaters that you want to do them by hand when you can. Always on the dryer, check the lint filter. Whether you do it before you start a load or after you've taken the load out, the hose that comes out of the back of the dryer typically goes into the wall and through cavity space and comes out somewhere on the side of the house. As much as I knew about this, I was guilty. I was having problems with my dryer. The outside fixture is called termination and has a grate there, a plastic grate. It has completely clogged up, and so it was backing the system up and back pressuring the system. And I was so embarrassed when the guy goes, "Oh yeah, this was out of your termination," and I felt about this big because I'm supposed to be one of those people that knows this stuff. And obviously there I did not. Ventilate. If you have a vent fan, use it. Moisture inside your house in the winter is good. You get rid of that static electricity stuff. Use your vent fan. I turn my vent fan on anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes before I shower. They say on the average it should run 15 to 20 minutes after you're finished to suck all the moisture out. Moisture is not good in the house because we're talking energy, but it pressurizes the walls and it makes the walls become less as effective as walls and around the windows and doors as they can be, which means now you've got another bypass for the heat to go out that you're paying so much. Crack a window or a door. If you've got a window in the bathroom and you can crack it and not be a show for anybody, or if it's just you and your husband or boyfriend or whatever and girlfriend, leave the door open. You get a nice airflow going through there. If you need your privacy, close the door. Don't open the window. But if you can do it, your vent fan won't work as hard and it will do a better job of taking out that excess moisture. Stove. Who likes to cook out? Why heat up your stove and cook pork chops in the stove when you can grill out? You can grill out. I personally think they taste better on the grill, and then you're not heating up the house. It's 90 degrees outside, and you want to put a roast in? Yeah, come on, let's think about this. You've agreed to bake cookies for the bake sale. Okay, you're stuck. But you may have a hood fan. Make sure that's on, make sure it's on high and get it started. And while we're thinking about that and checking cookies, every time you open the door to the stove, you're losing about 25% of the heat that's in there. So if it has a glass thing in it, a lot of them are really grungy and yellow. Get some Brillo pads out and clean that puppy up so you can look through it and see, yeah, that looks pretty good. I don't need to open the door. Preheating oven. Unless you're baking, don't do it. You don't need to. You put the turkey in for Thanksgiving, that turkey doesn't care if it's preheated or not. I personally asked the turkey and said, no, it doesn't bother me. Not a bit. But baking, you do need that. If any of you do bake, you want that temperature to be 350 degrees when you slide your first tray of muffins in. So you need to preheat for that. Self-cleaning ovens. When do you think you ought to do the self-cleaning? You're right. Right after you finish the turkey. Or something else that you've really heated the oven up, because all that self-cleaning oven does is it cranks it up to 550, 600 degrees and bakes everything off. Well, if you've already got it at 400 for something, keep going and do that. And unless you really need to in the summertime, don't do it in the summertime. Wait till the winter and get that. It's not free, but you're already using it. So let that oven becomes a radiator for you. So clean that oven in the wintertime. When it's 12 degrees outside and you've baked something in there, just go, okay, honey, and turn that up and set the timer on it and let it do its thing. Use lids. Lids on pots, simple as it is, makes a big difference. Again, it's about 25% of the energy. So use the lids. Use the right size burner. You know, my electric stove has one probably like 8-inch burner and then 3, 6-inch or 5-inch or whatever they are. Use the right size pot for that. Showers continued. Low flow shower head. Hey, fill up, get a gallon jug, See how long it takes to fill up, and it's going to tell you how many gallons. With that sheet, it's going to tell you how many gallons your shower head is. If it's more than 2.5 and your budget allows you to, go buy a new one. 2.5 is the standard for gallons per minute. I think the new ones are now 2 gallons a minute. And you will get a good shower. When it's 90 degrees outside, the sun's blazing in, what do you want to do with your curtains and your window shades and blinds? Close them. Solar gain. And just the opposite in the winter. Refrigerators, last big thing, 36 to 40 degrees. In the fresh food compartment, we think of the refrigerator as the main part, the fresh food compartment. And then you have the freezer, often on the top, sometimes on the bottom, and sometimes side to side. Side to side is the least efficient. You open that door up, and what happens to the cold air? It all spills out onto the floor. Because, as someone mentioned earlier, warm air rises. Warm air rises into the top, forces that cold air out the bottom, and when you close the door, your compressor is going to kick on, and we've got to cool that down again. Sometimes we see people with side-to-side freezers for people that are handicapped and in wheelchairs. They want to be part of the family, so they, with the side-by-side, they can get in their wheelchair, get in there and get things out of the bottom, put them into the refrigerator, part of it, fresh food compartment, and help them thaw it out. Chest freezers are better than upright freezers. Why? You lift the lid on a chest freezer, and all that cold air just kind of sits in that tub. Freezers, if you don't fill them up as best as your budget will allow you to, but don't block them in completely, you want the air to circulate in there. And if you go home and look in the back of your freezer and find the vent slots back there, the freezer is what gets cold from the compressor, and then those slots draw cold air down into the fresh food compartment. So you don't want to block that stuff. But if you get home, you've gone to the grocery store and your check came through, and you stuff in that freezer, you're going to cause your energy bill to go up a little bit. I have a bunch of these. I take the label off, I wash them out, I fill it with water, not all the way because ice expands, and they go in my freezer. I fill up my ice chest with it. I'm not buying ice. Saves me this, and then when I get there, I can drink I do filtered water. I can drink the filtered water. The big chest freezer, you got extra room in there, gallon milk jugs. To save energy, the energy efficiency switch in the refrigerator. Anybody use that? Good. I'm glad nobody's using it. It makes sense. What? Energy saver switch? Oh yeah, that should be turned on the whole time. It turns on a little strip heater around the gaskets around the door to reduce the moisture in your refrigerator, because moisture makes your refrigerator compressor work harder, as well as moisture in your house makes your heat pump work harder. Well, this is fine in the summertime, as long as you remember to flip that switch off when the summer's over. The gaskets around the doors, the standard rule is put a dollar bill in, see how tight it is to pull the dollar bill out. So if your budget doesn't allow you to get new gaskets, to do what you can do. As warm air rises, even in your refrigerator, where should you store your milk? Bottom shelf. It's going to be cooler down there. If you're going through it, if you've got a family of 5, you know, you and your wife and 3 kids, and the kids are drinking a gallon of milk every 2 days, who cares where you store it? But if it's just you, then it doesn't matter what it's on. Everybody have at least a few compact fluorescent bulbs in your house. Does everybody started yet have an LED, light emitting diode bulb? Yeah. They're great, and no matter how much they cost, the cheaper ones are around $7 now. They've dropped drastically. Buy the LEDs because they're supposed to last somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 hours. An incandescent bulb lasts 1,000 hours. Compact fluorescent lasts around 25,000 hours. I take a marker and write on the base of the bulb when I put it in.
The co-op is doing bulk purchases of really high quality LEDs.
Is that the Crees?
Crees.
Yeah. Do not put something that doesn't fit there. If it's not a dimmable bulb and you have a dimmable fixture, don't put it in. It's a safety issue. This little pie chart is going to show you basically how much energy is used in different places. But this gives you a general idea. This handout was the most eye-opening to me. One 60-watt incandescent bulb being replaced by a 15-watt CFL yields these things. If you've never read your electric bill, in Ohio we get 90% of our electricity by coal. Western West Virginia and Western Pennsylvania, where the smokestacks in Ohio blow all that crap over that way. Electricity, it's really good. We want to use less of it. Electricity, it's 100% when it gets to the house. Out of the generating plant, it's about 35%. For that ton of coal, a ton of coal, and I don't remember off the top of my head, so many BTUs of heat. So they shovel the coal in there, or big time things, burn it, and from the coal's original point to the electricity it generates and goes out the wire, 35%. There's that much waste. We want to reduce that. You know, time to get set up.
So this is an electric tractor I did. It is a 72 volt all electric. Runs off of 12 6-volt batteries. The original engine in it was 10 horsepower, and now this one's running at 12 horsepower. And another big advantage with going to electric is you have all your torque right from the very start, whereas in gas and diesel you have to rev your engine up to get that kind of torque. Basically really ideal for farm work. All the implements are mounted in here so you can see what you're doing. So you can get a single bottom plow, cultivator, sickle bar, belly mower, potato planter, digger, I mean just about everything you could ever want. Did this because concerned about where our climate's going and concerned about our fossil fuel usage and trying to get away from all that. And since I'm a vegetable farmer, this was the perfect answer.
What's under these boxes?
Batteries, bunches of batteries.
Oh.
I've got 2 under here, 2 under here, 6, and then you can see 2 of them that I didn't box in there. All the controls here so you can see how much your batteries are charged up, how many amps you're using, so you know which gear to be in. Turns on inverter, turns on your lights.
These are regular car batteries?
These are not. These are aviation batteries. They were used in airplanes. They're slightly used batteries. So it's fun.
What kind of jobs then can you do with this vehicle?
It's made to be a small cultivating tractor for produce. So basically you can do anything and everything, but I also have it rigged up to where you can plug in any normal 120 AC implement. So you can go out in the woods, plug in your electric chainsaw and cut your wood and throw it in your trailer and drive home with it. Go out in the field to weld some farm equipment or whatever you need. It's fun.
You sell these?
I do. We're still working out on what kind of price.
The batteries alone must be.
Actually, I got those extremely cheap, $65 a battery. I found ways to drive the cost down because I'm just as cheap as the next person.
How do you recharge them?
I've got a charger sitting in the back here that you plug it in right there. So plug it into the grid, plug it into solar preferably, and that's all of the inverter, motor, charger, motor controller, all the whistles and bells. It looks like a mess, but it makes sense. Just had to fit a lot in a little space.
If it's clear down, how long does it take it to charge it all back up? Or do you let it get clear down?
You don't let it get clear down. You only discharge to 50%. I don't know yet because I just got this guy running. I haven't discharged it yet to know how much it takes to charge it back up. Maybe 6-8 hours, something you could do overnight. Yeah.
So you have a music system built in.
Yes, this is just for show. Show them that you can power just about whatever you want to off the back of this tractor. Toaster. Microwave, doesn't matter. You can get your food out in the middle of the field.
Is this an electric tractor?
Yes.
How many horsepower does this have?
This is 10. No, it's originally 10, now it's 12.
So you'd have no problem like plowing field with it?
Actually, I can plow better. You have all of your torque right from the very beginning, like with gasoline or diesel, you have to rev them up to get your high torque.
Say you're doing hay, so you're loading it up, bringing it to the barn and unloading it?
Yeah. You could probably get away with close to all day on that. Stuff like heavy plowing and stuff like that, you'd last about a half day. Much lighter work, like sickle bar or something like that.
Just pulling the wagon around?
Yeah, you could probably last all day on that. I don't know. I mean, I've yet to do all of use it in all those different ways yet to really know. But that's the electric motor. Just took off the gasoline and put that guy on there.
To be able to convert our system of producing energy to a renewable energy fuel system, we need a strategy of how we're going to implement that. First priority is to meet our energy needs without polluting our environment, increasing greenhouse gas levels, or depleting our valuable fossil fuel reserves. Develop a nationwide system for producing energy which will not be adversely affected by national disasters, will enable customers to participate in producing energy locally. Get more people to start saving energy, and also to start putting solar panels or other means of producing energy, installing them on their property. And also it will attract investment. Solar arrays and other large solar projects that will help increase the amount of electricity that is, and energy that is being produced. Essentially, we're facing a system with a problem that we were facing like back in the 1930s with the rural electrification. Like, how do you get the investment necessary to buy the transformers, buy the power poles and the wire to provide electricity in the rural areas for farmers? The Rural Electrification Administration was formed, called the REA, and the government was actually able to help finance some of the materials and some of the equipment and the labor to have these systems put in. Many of the solar panels, batteries, and other things are very expensive, and sometimes it's not cost effective to have each individual person purchase a system and make that investment. Many people do not want to make that investment to convert their home to renewable energy. It has to be done by a phased-in process of how we're going to convert our economy to clean energy. One of the first steps is to do what we're doing right now, basically, in building a network of cooperatives, just like they did back in the REA or the 1930s. Cooperatives which were able to attract financing, provide work, and that's what these cooperatives can do today. Actually provide manpower, provide volunteers, funding, wind turbines at a reasonable price, and get the cost down so that the average person can afford it. To educate the public, put information on billboards, have seminars, meetings like we're having today, to let the public know what's available, what can be done, what the possibilities are. Continue to develop and build sources of financing. That's one of the biggest problems right now, why the cost of many of the solar systems, solar panels, are higher than people are willing to pay to have it put in. We need to find ways through the co-ops and through grants to provide the funding available to build the infrastructure that we're going to need to expand renewable energy throughout the country. In my view, there are several different areas of renewable energy that we need to be expanding. One is solar systems, wind generating systems, and also hydrogen-powered engines for motorized vehicles. There are websites you can purchase engines that are designed and built to operate on hydrogen. And there are solar-powered generating systems that produce hydrogen that could be installed at a home or like a gas station so that you can produce hydrogen to supply these vehicles. As we clean up the environment, it's going to be more largely needed to convert to renewable energy by like electric tractors or farm equipment that runs on hydrogen. When hydrogen burns, fumes that are produced are just water vapor. It is a totally clean system. When you burn hydrogen for fuel, all you're doing is just producing water vapor, which is harmless to the environment. Where if you burn gasoline, you're getting other, carbon dioxide and other poisonous gases. In order to get to a zero carbon economy, we're going to have to start making large advances in producing hydrogen powered vehicles. The next thing is to increase funding for continuing research and development. Get more efficient inverters, more efficient solar panels. Put the solar panels in and an inverter which converts the DC to AC, and then you connect it directly to the power system. In the daytime, when you're producing extra energy, you feed it right into the power lines, and at night, when you need electricity, you draw from the power system. That's called a totally on-grid system. The other major type of system is called a battery backup system. Okay, the battery backup system is a little bit more flexible. If you have a power outage at night especially, you're not going to be left without electricity. The battery storage capacity makes the whole system operate more efficiently. And you can sell more electricity to the power company when you're producing in excess. Battery backup systems are a little bit more expensive, but then also they're a lot more efficient. We need to have more investment and more infrastructure built in to support the solar industry, and more factories that make inverters, solar panels, battery systems. Cooperatives can help funnel money into these projects. They apply for federal grants. They can approach legislators and help facilitate things in general. A wider spread use of battery backup systems in the solar systems that are already installed. That will make them work more efficiently, but also with a smart inverter that has a computer-based inverter, the power can actually be fed into the power grid when it's needed. One of the biggest problems that most of the electrical cooperatives have is they have peak demand periods. Now each electric cooperative for each area has a certain tolling agreement with the power company that they will buy so many megawatts of electricity per month. If they exceed that, then they have to pay a large surcharge on the amount of electricity that they consume. If we can get more solar systems installed either on homes and businesses that can actually feed into the power grid when the power is needed to help level off the peak consumption periods, and also to help provide enough electricity to ensure that that cooperative does not go over their allotment every month. That will save a lot of money for the consumers and the cooperatives. Have more interaction with our politicians. Let the politicians know what we need. A lot of the politicians on both sides of the aisle really want to help. I mean, they will introduce legislation and they will help support renewable energy if they know what they're voting for. Part of our mission is to help inform the politicians, make our existing homes and businesses more efficient. That reduces the load on the system, and it saves us money both in natural resources, renewable energy infrastructure that's going to have to be put in to replace that. So there's a new type of home building system that doesn't seem to be widely publicized. It's called SIPs, home building, structurally insulated panelized systems. Those are the most efficient type home construction systems that there are on the market today. You have an outside layer that may look like brick or stucco or even wood paneling. On the other side there's sheetrock or fiberboard, and sandwiched in between that is a layer of insulation, just like an Oreo cookie. This SIPS Homes building technology can reduce the heat losses tremendously. The panels are built in the factory and then they're shipped on site and bolted together on site. I think they're using a lot of these out west, like out in Arizona and New Mexico, where they have a lot of hot weather. We can expand it so that it's used throughout the nation. Many of the new homes will be much more energy efficient. And also a SIPS home can withstand 200-mile-an-hour winds. They're very strong. Microgrids. This renewable energy cooperative is right now engaged in building one or several microgrids, which consist of 3 or 4 homes that operate from a centralized solar system. A more efficient way to do that than the regular system, just putting a separate solar system on each home. If you have several different homes operating on the same system, you can reduce the number of transformers and inverters, solar panels, and everything else. Microgrid can actually buffer the effects of the power consumption night and day instead of just buying it all directly from the power grid directly. And so we need to expand the number of these microgrids throughout the nation. We need to decide on exactly what type of hydrogen generating system we're going to use, and then develop a nationwide network. So let's say if you have a hydrogen-powered car, or fuel cell car, you can pull it into about any gas station and get it refueled. That's one of the biggest things right now that's holding back a lot of hydrogen-powered vehicles, is you can't get them refueled anywhere. We need to have solar-powered refueling systems, and the hydrogen can be produced by electrolysis with water or something that, and just electrolyze it into oxygen and hydrogen, and have solar power operate that system. So it's a zero energy consumption. You can fuel cars, trucks, airplanes, trains, ships, anything that uses an internal combustion engine can be operated with in that manner. We'd be effectively managing our carbon output and our economy so that we're not just blundering along producing greenhouse gas, no end in sight.
My name's Chris Schmiel, and I am the founder of the Pawpaw Festival, but I am also a county commissioner. And one of the things that I've worked with many people in our community on is entering a competition that's been sponsored by Georgetown University, and it's called the Georgetown University Energy Prize. The grand prize is $5 million. It's a multi-year process, working with our utility companies, the electric and the gas. And one of the main ways that we can win this competition is to actually reduce our usage of electric and natural gas. How replicable are your ideas for other communities? Right now we're competing against 52 other communities across the country. I know Oberlin, the only other Ohio community. The idea is it's like a friendly competition, so we can actually learn from the other communities, like how long-term are your advancements in energy efficiency. If you just made a change for this competition for 2 years, they're not going to look at that as favorable as something that's going to be institutionalized and carried on into the future. Is working with kids and schools. Most of this competition is based on residential and municipal building energy efficiency. Right now, with our current technology, we're wasting 52% of the energy that we're producing. So the biggest source of energy production that we have right now is just becoming more energy efficient. So the whole goal of this competition is to figure out ways to get people to take action and use technologies that are already available, that are just sitting there waiting to happen. Stuff like, insulating your roof, taping up your ducts if you have a furnace, little things like that where your building is losing energy. We've called our project, it's called Upgrade Athens. And so the whole idea is that we want to get people to look at their home and do an energy audit and see how your home is performing, or your municipal building. And there are a lot of tools available for people. There's right now AEP has $50, I think, or something like that. They pay for your energy audit. Columbia Gas has similar programs. So one of the things we're trying to do is make sure that everybody understands what's already available. So we've got 10 different subcommittees, and we're looking for people to get involved. I mean, this is for the whole county. And if you don't even live in Athens County, we still want you to get involved too. So is anybody interested in this? Yeah. Yes, I learned about this competition. We get a county commissioner's newsletter, and I just saw it in there. And one of the topics that I campaigned on was energy. So that kind of just caught my eye, and it's only available to communities with 250,000 people or less. The question was about what kind of funding is available. Through Georgetown University, they do have seed grants available. One of our subcommittees is a fundraising. The county, for example, we've spent some money on our own buildings, and that's going to help our community with this competition for sure. The city's done some of that stuff as well.
There are programs in place to help homeowners with weatherization and energy efficiency programming. One of the main partners in this is COAD, that has funding for low-income families, and we're negotiating right now through the electrical aggregation program to bring in a program that would address moderate income families to provide upfront financing and then on-bill payment so that people can do these upgrades and then pay for them over time.
The aggregation negotiation process has a lot of potential, and what we've done is we've created an organization called the Southeast Ohio Public Energy Council, and that's SOPEC, and that's something that is going to be available to any county. We started with the city of Athens, Athens County, Amesville's on board. We've got 3 other villages that have it on the ballot this fall. You know, every dollar that we're spending right now on our energy is pretty much leaving our community. The goal is when we become more energy efficient, our money in our community, instead of just wasting it, we want to promote more renewable energy production. So we called for proposals that would help us do that. Not only become more energy efficient, but create actual new projects for renewable energy right here in our community and in our region. I think one of the things that I've been trying to talk about is just this whole idea that we need to raise our energy IQ. Every day, everything we're doing, energy's touching it, and it's an opportunity for us to be conscious and make choices and make the world the way we want. Are we going to just sit here and watch as our CO2 levels go higher and higher? Are we going to leave the future generations a mess here on the planet, or are we going to try to be responsible? And the challenge is, how do we get the economics and the ecology in sync? What I'd like to see happen is economic development that's moving us in the right direction. We're blessed in Athens with a lot of people that have the values, have the skills. So it's like we're like a triple bottom line business. Do good and do well too at the same time. So I think that's going to win over some hearts and minds of people, because Athens is a diverse community. We got hippies, we got good old boys. The challenge is to have these conversations where we can all sit down and talk about stuff, find some common ground, figure out ways to work together. Do you have any ideas right now? If you have something you could put on this chalkboard, we'll take your picture, and we're doing this like Facebook, Twitter thing. The whole thing with this competition, their tagline is, it starts with community and it ends with innovation. This festival's representation of our great community that we have. I really do think we can win this competition. We had 4 people that went to Georgetown. We got to go to the White House. We had Roger went, I went, the old planner, Lori Burchett, and I took my son, Griffin. So we had more people at the launch than any other community. And even if we don't win, if we do all this work, it's going to be a lot of work doing all this stuff. We're building community with each other. I mean, we're learning a lot. And our committee has grown, and our last meeting that we had, I can feel like there's this like momentum starting. Last week we had the Sustainable Energy Symposium out in Amesville, and that was really great because we were able to see solar systems that were installed. We were able to ask questions about how much did it cost, how much is your current electric bill. I mean, and this stuff is doable. It's not crazy. The price of solar panels has come down significantly, and the trend with electric being produced at the power plant is going up. So the sooner you purchase a renewable energy project, you're going to be hedging your bets against that trend of going up and up. And even though this Upgrade Athens competition is kind of focused on energy efficiency, they don't really care if we start turning the meters backwards with solar panels or whatever. We've got a lot of different things going on between the energy efficiency competition and the aggregation project. It's all going to kind of blend together, I think, in a very successful way. This guy, Kelly Sauber, he's got a solar system, and he uses an old forklift that he's using that as his battery bank. And he also has opened up the West End Cider House. He implemented LED lights everywhere in there. He's got an on-demand hot water heater. Just getting out, telling these stories, showing people that, hey, we can do this, you can do this, and it's not expensive. It's going to save you money. That's the challenge. How do you get people to build a building the right way the first time? Because otherwise, you're going to be living with the whole lifetime of that building inefficiencies. As a county commissioner, I come in there one of our newest buildings, in fact, all of our new buildings, we did some energy audits. The engineers depot, horribly inefficient. Unfortunately, there's no insulation in the floor. It was freezing cold in the winter. It's bad for people's comfort level. It's expensive. To sell this to people and tying it into your comfort, your health, your pocketbook. The dog shelter. We did a blower door test there. We had a 4-foot hole in our building. That's one of the challenges we have here, is that we've got people that are operating buildings that don't look at the bills. They're not paying the bill. We all are with our tax dollars. They're not always paying attention. Now, if you're at home, you make bad choices and your bills go up, you feel the pain. But when you're working for a public institution and you make bad decisions, unless somebody's calling you on it, it's just costing the public money. One of our other big challenges here in Athens County is 75% of the houses in Athens City are rentals. If the landlord pays the electric bill, there's an incentive there for them to be efficient. If they aren't paying the electric bill, there's really no direct incentive for them to be investing in energy efficiency. So one of the things that we've got with the Office of Sustainability at OU, they had a project called the Greenhouse Project, and there's some funding available to help landlords invest in making their buildings more energy efficient. One of the ideas that I'm pretty excited about is that, you know when you go to the store and you buy a hot water heater, right? And it says, there's that little line that says, this tank is this efficient. What I'd like to see on every public building in Athens County is when you come into a door, like say you go to the library, there would be a little sticker, and this sticker would say, this building is this energy efficient. There's a program, Energy Star, which is an EPA. You go to the online. This is something that you can do. Anybody can do it in the whole country. You can input this data, and you can get your building energy units. That would be a great tool to bring to light. Hey, let's start paying attention to how efficient our buildings are. So again, I'm just rambling. So if anybody has anything to say or has a question, yes.
I'm sorry, I might have missed this earlier, but you mentioned that there was 8 subcommittees.
There's 10. 10. And you can sign up right over here and talk to Susan over there in the purple blazer, and she will educate you about the different committees and what would be your best fit for you. So, but you could be on multiple committees if you want. I don't care. And then Zero Waste from Rural Action, they've come on the scene, and that's really, they've kind of institutionalized this thing with all the festivals around here now. So the Nelsonville Music Fest, they do it. Here, Rural Action and the Zero Waste team. 52% of the energy that we're producing right now through existing technologies that we've got, we're wasting 52%. The single largest source of energy production that we have is becoming more energy efficient through technologies we already have that we're not implementing. That's the whole challenge of this Upgrade Athens, is how do we get people to assess their buildings and then take action through investment in, upgrading their buildings. Here at the Commissioners, we learned about LED lights from Rural Action's Energy Committee, and so we got some, they're called Neptunes, and they're 4-foot and 8-foot long LED tubes, okay? In the county buildings uptown, we have over 2,000 light bulbs, okay? This school complex over here, they've got 6,000 light bulbs, okay? Now, in our situation, we had the T12s. Does anybody know what a T12 is? Okay, it's the oldest, most inefficient type of fluorescent light bulb you could have. And you can't even buy them anymore. So every time one of those T12s went out, our buildings guys would go and they'd have to change the ballast, and they'd put in another, and you know what they would do? They would put in the cheapest one, and they're thinking, oh, we're saving money, we're putting in the cheapest one. But unfortunately, that's a short-term way of thinking. So I said, hey, I really want to put in these LED lights, We worked with our guys. They started doing it. We did about, a couple floors. Everybody's loved the LED lights. They're wonderful. About 100 kilowatt hours less per month now. That saves a bunch of money from the public. our local government needs to show we're the leaders in this. We're willing to take our money and invest in this kind of stuff, and it makes sense. The Alternative Renewable Energy Cooperative, Appalachian. Okay, I'm a member, but one of the things that you get is you get an energy meter, and this is that whole idea. It's like your energy IQ. What are you spending your energy on? So you can see, you can turn stuff on and off in your house and see what's going on. They've purchased some of these Cree lights, which are some of the best LED lights that are made here in America. So again, gets back to that whole economic driver. You know, and unfortunately, Ohio kind of took a step backwards recently with Senate Bill 310. I don't know if anybody knows about that. But energy efficiency a couple years ago was not a partisan issue. Republicans and Democrats were together in saying, hey, inefficiency is a bad idea. Let's work together to become more energy efficient. Out of the top 20 industrialized countries, we're number 12 energy efficient. Number 1 is Britain. Number 2 is like Germany, and then Japan. Those are small countries that are a lot more energy efficient. I guess we think because we have a lot of resources, we can, waste them. I think this is something that we need to build some bridges, get away from this partisan idea that energy efficiency is bad. I really would love somebody to tell me why is it bad. It's bad for certain people, maybe.
Running a second spin cycle on your washer instead of your dryer twice. Yeah, having night lights instead of flipping the light on. Have that LED night light around.
Athens community has really embraced the local food thing, because you realize like every time we purchase local food, we're saving, the average food calorie it gets 14 fossil fuel calories in transportation. So when you're buying local, you're saving, a lot of energy and money. Local foods to the rescue. If everybody had, solar systems, that money would be staying in your pocket, in our communities, instead of like going to investors who knows where. Think about how much our world's changed in the last 100 years. I guess the impact of our technological advancements, it's coming home. And it's like, are we gonna, this 400 parts per million, CO2 in the atmosphere, higher than ever on this planet? We've got to do something about it. I've got kids. Anybody else got kids? The future, what are we going to do? Are we going to leave this place a wreck, or are we going to try to do something about it? So who wants to do something about it? Yeah! All right. Get fired up. Upgrade Athens.
That's it.
Every choice you make, don't underestimate yourself. That Gandhi said that. Whatever you do may seem insignificant, but it's most important that you do it. And you riding your bike, or hanging your clothes up, or filling up your cup. Thank you for coming to the Pawpaw Festival. Please talk to people and explore everybody here. There's a lot of great people here, and thanks for your time.